Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. This is Grama Jeanie's Creations and I'm Grama Jeanie, and today I am going to do a tutorial on making your own binding out of fabric, scrap fabric that you may have, or any kind of yardage that you have laying around that you haven't used. I like to do my binding out of the same fabric that I am making my lining out of, but if I can't do that, then I'll find a contrasting fabric. So first thing you want to do is you want your fabric, you want a rotary cutter, you want a quilting ruler, preferably a 6" by 4", and it needs to have a 45-degree mark, which most all quilting rulers do, and that's all you really need, and an iron. So I'm gonna fix my camera first. In the right position. Okay, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to cut this salvage up. So I'm going to take my ruler and I'm going to place it up against there. I'm just going to trim that off. Okay. And then I'm going to come over here. And this is just going to be a sample, so it doesn't matter how long it is or anything. I'm just boxing off my fabric. As straight as I can. Okay. So you're going to want to cut this on the bias. Whoops. And the reason for that is so it will have, the material will have some give, and I will show you that once I get a piece cut. So cutting on the bias means that you're going to cut on a 45-degree mark. I'm going to move this over here and see if it's better. Is that better? There, that might be better. So cutting on the bias means you're going to cut it on the 45-degree mark. So on your quilting ruler, you want to find your 45-degree mark. The line is right here. And you want to line that mark up with the edge of your fabric. And then you're just going to cut all the way down like that. Now we don't need that because we're only going to be making one piece. Now, the reason why you cut on a 45-degree mark is because you want your fabric to have some give in it. So when you go around corners, if you cut it on the straight, you have no give. So it's harder to go around a corner. This way you can pull it and maneuver it around the corner better. I'm going to cut this at 2 1/4 inches wide. And I'm just going to go the length of the fabric because I'm not going to be using this for anything. It's just an example. So I want to turn my ruler around, and I want to find 1, 2, and 1/4. This line right here is 1/4 inch, so I want it lined up with the edge of the fabric all the way down. And I'm going to cut right here. And I'm going to slide this down. And binding is used in bags. It's used on quilts, pillows. It's used on just about anything. So your piece will look like that. You'll have 2 diagonals, 1 diagonal on that end, and 1. Okay, now sometimes you may run into a problem where you don't have enough scraps or fabric, whatever, to make your continuous binding piece. So what you're going to do is you're going to take the longest end and then take the shortest end, and you want it to look like this, where the triangle's going that way, and you're going to put it right down on top of there, and it is going to set with 2 little notches sticking out 1/4 inch. It will look like that. The reason you want this is at 1/4 inch sticking out is because you're sewing at 1/4 inch, so you want those lines to match up. And I am going to stick a pin in mine. Stick a pin right here and right here, far enough away from where that seam is. So we're going to sew at 1/4 inch. Oops, that's not right. Okay, maybe. There we go. So it will look like that. 1/4 inch sticking up on the top and 1/4 inch sticking down here. And then we're going to sew at 1/4 inch. And we are going to back stitch. Pull your pin out. Okay. Clip that. And as I clip the scissors, or the strings, I'm going to clip that little notch sticking out. Then when you open it up, it's continuous. So what I do is I will open the seam up and press it. And sometimes I go back after I press it. Sometimes I top stitch on both sides. Sometimes I don't. It just depends on how I feel. This time I'm not going to, but that will be how you make a continuous bias binding strip when you don't have enough fabric to cut a continuous strip on its own. And then if you watch my video on making the Lee Elizabeth mini crossbody bag, you will see where I use the binding inside the lining of that bag. So I will be right back. So I've got my press pad, my wool press pad, and my iron. And what I do is I just fold it in half. And I press it. All the way down. Steam helps to keep the fold. And I set mine on cotton and steam. Okay. Then I open it up. And this is basically you're just folding it like you do a strap. And I fold that into the center line, the center fold line. Fold that one into the center fold line. And I just do that all the way down. Leave a little gap in there so when you fold it, it doesn't overlap each other. That's always best, just like you do for the straps. This is a good way to use up remaining scrap fabric. And usually when I know I have a bag or something that I'm sewing that requires binding, and if the fabric or if the pattern requires 3/4 of an inch or 3/4 of a yard fabric to complete the bag, I usually double that, so then the other half I can use for the binding, because as you see, you do tend to waste fabric by cutting on the bias. And I usually like my binding to match, if I possibly can, the inside lining of my bag, because I'm just a nerd that way. I like everything to match. Once in a while, if I absolutely cannot match it up, I'll use something that will coordinate. Like this one, I would either use the teal or white. You can buy pre-made binding at Joann's or Hobby Lobby. You can order it online, and you can also buy it at Walmart. But Walmart has, well, I think all of them just have the plain colors. If you want something that matches your fabric, you're gonna have to make it yourself. So that is your binding. And this stays open so you can wrap it around the edge of the fabric. Simple as that. Easy peasy. So that finishes today's tutorial, everyone. I hope you liked the video. I hope you got a lot out of it. If you did, please leave a comment down below or like, subscribe, and share my video. It helps the algorithm out and it helps me out. It helps me to grow my channel. I plan on doing a couple more tutorials for beginners, some tips and tricks and techniques that you might need to know. So join me again. A bag for my granddaughter, and that bag that I'm going to be making has the bias binding, and it also has the piping on it. So, and I do have a tutorial for piping. I will be posting that sometime this evening. So I hope you return to my channel and watch more of my videos.